Let's cut the dang music. Let's cut it. It's cut. Stupid music. What's up, everybody? Get the questions in a sec. Hope you guys are great. Let's talk about a couple things off the bat. Number one, I've got a discount code in the description for all the digital products. Okay, it's 20%. 20% off everything digital. That's high-dose TRT Mastery, which just launched. You guys are going to want to get that, especially people suffering on lower doses or frequent injections. And coaching is 50% off. That's going to go away soon. I'll reach capacity, I don't know, 3 weeks or so from now. It all really depends on how fast the rest of these slots book. But discount codes are in the description. Go book me if you need me. And then the discount code for digital products is in the description as well. Let's talk about 250 milligrams test a week. I'm running 266 at the moment, basically 270, doing 150 every fourth day. And HCG as needed. It's very minimal so that the estrogen doesn't get out of whack with DHT. And I'm doing pretty great regarding libido and erections. And anabolism finally. I've been on cream for a year and couldn't really pack on any muscle. It just kind of stayed the same. I looked all right, but things are starting to finally shape up now, and my injury is healed, so I feel a lot better. But the thing that I'm seeing increasingly, I've seen this for years, and I've been talking about it for years, but I tend to get these like surges of certain kinds of clients, which provoke me to do certain types of content, and I just want to make it clear that the idea that injecting 200 or 250 in that range once a week is a terrible idea is just not true for everybody. I understand that there are people that are promoting the idea of frequent lower dose injections at one time, and I understand why. They've probably dealt with patients or clients or whoever that have had hematocrit problems and blood pressure problems and, whatever. But the idea that just because you have a roller coaster and somehow that's not great, it just doesn't apply everywhere, because, you've got people that take that advice of let's be as stable as we can. They do that and their libido disappears. These guys are on androgens. Their libido fucking disappears. And then they have erectile dysfunction. My job as a TRT coach isn't to have a bias on some type of protocol or to say to you, to gaslight you and be like, man, the reason you have erectile dysfunction is because your thyroid hormones need optimization. It's fucking bullshit. It's gaslighting. My job is to purely do what works. I really don't care if we've got to inject 250 milligrams at once and wait 7 to 10 days. It doesn't matter. If a person gets their libido back insatiably and they start waking up with wood and they don't need Cialis for sex, we dialed them in. Because there is no dialing them in on 20 milligrams a day. It just isn't working. There's something fundamentally broken, guys, with, the inject every day crowd. And there's something fundamentally broken out there. I don't know how this got so fucked up with these ideas, these newer ideas on how to inject testosterone. Something's not right. Peering into it over the years, one of the things that I think is that people like to sort of get on board with the crowd, and they like to get on board with what is popular. And people are really funny. They will parrot stuff that their favorite YouTuber says or that the crowd is saying, even if it doesn't apply to them, just to get upvotes and shit on Reddit, and to be with a certain crew on YouTube. There's this guy, I think it was I don't know, TRT with Ivan or some shit like that. He was one of those guys that was like, estrogen doesn't matter, pin as frequently as you can to have stable hormones and all this stuff. You've got to understand when good sounding logic doesn't apply to the real world. I'll always go back to keto. People that sounded really like good sounding logic. Fat adaptation, more fuel for your brain neurons, because fatty acids, ketones specifically, tend to fuel them to a great extent. But fat adaptation is simply starvation, right? Fat adaptation is very real. It's exactly what you do when you go starving. You go into ketosis. Eventually, you go into ketoacidosis and you could die. At the very least, your electrolytes are going to be dysregulated. Once I started looking into it like years ago, I ran keto for 6-7 months. Recognizing people have electrolyte disorders, virtually everybody on the keto forum says, hey, you got to increase your electrolyte. In what fucking sense is your diet healthy if you've got to consume 5 grams of sodium a day in order to not feel weak? It doesn't make sense. Neither does injecting daily at lower doses. It fucks people up, man. Not everyone, but it fucks people up. So sometimes 200 a week. I recently heard, one of the pro-estrogen camp proponent guys, no one should ever inject 200 milligrams a week. It's ridiculous. You can't make blanket statements. People will not take you seriously. I certainly won't, and I hope my audience doesn't. Also, more and more I'm seeing in the comments and that I've been popularizing infrequent injections and kind of going back to what we used to do, only for people that can't do daily. Again, if you can do daily injections and your libido erections are great and you feel good, do it. I see that. I don't see it often, but I do see it. But for people that don't, I'm seeing in the comments, people going, hey, Rye, you were right, man. I switched to every 5th day, every 4th day, every 7th day, and my libido's back. Again, all I care about is telling you guys the truth, dude. No dog in the fight whatsoever. Just want people to know. Sup, Ryan? I remember you spoke about your issue with acne and less frequent injections. How are you managing? Pretty much gone at this point. I mean, yeah, I don't have it. I just don't have any. I have a little on the middle of my back, but it's just like a normal person's level of acne, I would consider. The simple answer for how it changed is it just stopped over time. And the turning point for me was my cycle a year and a half ago. I went on a cycle of 500 tests, basically, for 4 months. And I had a lot of acne during that cycle, but the moment I went back to TRT, I went to sports TRT, then back to TRT, it all went away. Whereas before, just on TRT, it would be there. And then as I increased my dose several times with, cream, ran some experiments with high dose prop, I just didn't get the acne. I'm now running 270 a week. No major acne. Just the same amount of very baseline little level acne in the middle of my back. Looks like a normal person. Doesn't bother me at all. And I am considering for the anabolic hit, because I'm really loving, higher doses of test for now. My lipids and hematocrit look great. Just running 250 at once. I'll probably be making that switch in the next week. And I'll keep you guys posted on that. That's something I've never run, so I'm actually interested in what it's going to do for me. Yeah, because 270 does work. I don't need an AI as long as I do not dose a lot of HCG. If I do, I need AI. So right now it's fine. I fucking think the cycle just blew it out of me, like burnt out the sebaceous response. I really don't know. Really don't know. Yeah, it's serious when we cut the dang music. Brothers, happy 4th, everybody. I don't know what you're doing if you're seeing fireworks. I hope you are, or hope, locally around you may have seen some recently, or there'll be some tonight and you can see them. Me and Jill are going downtown in Pittsburgh for the 250 anniversary. It's going to be the best show, they claim, that they've ever put on. You get to go to Point State Park, this major park in Pittsburgh, and the whole city is like there with you, and you watch the fireworks over the river right in front of you. It's going to be so fucking awesome. I cannot wait. Last year they destroyed it by putting it somewhere else and having a DJ play during the fireworks. This year they will have music, but it'll be far away from where we're going to watch the fireworks. So it's going to be cool. I'm going to park on the south side, walk over to the north side. Be a 3-hour ordeal waiting for the fireworks. Watch them. The whole city leaves, walks back to their cars. It takes 45 minutes just to get out of any parking garage, but it's worth it. That's what we're doing. Rick Diaz. So, assuming in some cases one may not need an AI with less frequent shots, considering a trough, right, every 4 to 7 days, does E follow test? Test peaks at 12 to 36 hours and E peaks around 48 to 96 hours. Does estrogen follow test? The curve typically looks like this. You inject on a Friday. On Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday, the test is peaking to its ultimate peak point over that period. The estradiol starts coming up on day one, but it's a slower convert. The aromatase enzymes don't act. They've got to go and act. Your testosterone, you're just injecting that straight into your body. Yes, it's got to be separated from the ester, but that happens a lot quicker than aromatase enzymes can convert that testosterone into estradiol. Your total test will jump up significantly, many hundreds of nanograms per deciliter or more, where the estrogen will move up 20 points, and that reaches its peak at about the 36-hour mark, maybe stays a little steady from that point and then starts dropping. So, I mean, if being in the right estrogen DHT estrogen ratio is of paramount importance to you, which it is to most of us, the less frequent, the better, considering all of this. Yeah, and then the dose has to be right. You may not be able to run 200 milligrams at once because your body fat and some other factors may make you over-aromatize. You're taking too much HCG or whatever. I can take 200 at once and not over-aromatize. For me, I'm a low normal aromatizer. As long as there's very minimal HCG, then I'm good and I stay in the right ratios. But that's essentially it. Height, 5'10", weight, 180 probably right now, 185. Yeah. Have you ever seen any guys sleep apnea on TRT, obstructive and central? I've not seen that TRT is a direct cause of it. I hear that people say that it's like a, exacerbator of it. I can tell you this, from a pure physiologic standpoint, what people have to think about sleep apnea as is, aside from a lot of body fat. I mean, there are people with no body fat, no big necks that have sleep apnea. When we're talking about your airway closing, what's the number one reason someone's airway closes? Reflux. Reflux is the number one reason people's airways close. Now, I'd figured this out years ago, that, acid reflux as well as the non-acidic reflux that refluxes into the larynx, which is what closes, is even more correlated to sleep apnea. And then I found the literature which shows us that a great degree of people with sleep apnea have a reflux of some type. It's not exactly the singular cause, because being overweight could trigger it, etc. But if you're overweight, you're probably eating like an asshole, and you probably have silent reflux or regular reflux. Yeah. The literature actually does support this, but the mainstream hasn't caught on. But I see patterns that, people don't see. And sleep apnea is not exclusively, but largely driven by gastric contents refluxing into your pharynx area. So you want to look into that. You could reduce your apnea episodes by getting that under control. Yeah. It's usually gut dysbiosis that causes this. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth causes this, among other things. Beyond God, with a 666. Doing test E, 150 milligrams once a week. HCG, 250 IU, 2x a week. Keeps my libido great, but water retention is terrible while using HCG. But I absolutely need any device plus Proviron. Pulse Proviron? Potentially, you're going to lower the estrogen a little bit. You might knock yourself out of balance there. I would assume you're relatively new to at least boluses at once or TRT, because this goes away. This goes away. Remember, I'm on fucking 270 a week. I inject every fourth day 150 milligrams. Micro amounts of HCG on injection day or once a week or so. I don't look bloated. I don't have water retention. Over time, this goes away. Secondarily, you could drink some caffeine, multiple times a day. Your body will take some time to adjust to that, but it's a diuretic. It's a diuretic. You're going to urinate some of your water out. Try to lose as much body fat as possible so that, even if you are a tad bit bloated, that it doesn't really look like it. But again, it's just a matter of time. Look, there are guys that are running grams of tests that do not have that. Why? Over time, the aldosterone, renin-angiotensin dynamics change in response to exogenous testosterone, and you probably start making a little bit less antidiuretic hormone, which is, I think, one of the major causes of this. And estrogen facilitates that more than test. your body just regulates it. I would say keep doing it and stay lean. Funny enough, when I was on 200 milligrams a week, 100 Monday and Thursday, I felt great. I'm going back to it when I'm done with my current cycle. Felt way better than 200 milligrams 5x5, 50x5. Oh, totally. I mean, absolutely. I mean, purely you're getting more testosterone at once doing 100 milligrams Monday and Thursday or 200 at once. That's it. And some people, again, I found this in coaching, like they need an androgenic threshold to have erections specifically. Doesn't mean the rest of the ratios will be dialed in because that takes time and that takes a meticulous approach. But they're waking up with erections every day and they have them in the middle of the night, if the androgen threshold is crossed. Again, though, our bodies, what we're doing is we're sort of extrapolating out from what our bodies naturally do, which is peak and trough when we're doing once a week injections or, Monday, Thursday injections. We're just kind of scaling that outward, the same kind of thing where we get a peak and we get a trough enough to where estradiol doesn't constantly saturate at the tissues and you have the proper balance of DHT to estradiol. That's the most important thing on TRT. It's the number one rule. I just did a video about that. That balance gets out of whack, you're going to have sexual dysfunction. You might feel fine, but you're going to have sexual dysfunction. My biggest pet peeve using 1/2-inch needles into their delts. I agree. I think it's why. I mean, what a lot of this shit comes down to, even doing daily injections with sub-Q needles and stuff, is just people, not manning up and doing TRT. How they're supposed to fucking do TRT. That's basically what it comes down to, man. A 1/2 inch is barely piercing the outer layer of the muscle. You can get it in there. Probably the best place would be, if you're super lean, delts okay, but ventral glute. If you've ever looked at your ventral glute, dude, it's pure muscle. Especially if you're lean, you get a 1/2 inch in there, but preferably 5/8 inch for anything intramuscular, 1 inch or 1.5 inch. I've got some very thin 1.5 inch needles that's what I inject with, all on the upper glute. Every now and then I'll do a thigh injection, but that actually can tend to hit some blood vessels and shit. John Hadusi. Doing 30 milligrams sub-Q every day. Going to switch after my bloods on Monday to 2x a week. Take my dose to 250 a week. See how I feel. Okay, gotcha. 30 milligrams sub-Q every day. Yeah, I don't find many people having success on that. I just don't. Usually that's not enough peak of androgens. People need that. Some people dial in on that. It's a high dose, 210 a week. But, if your libido specifically is not great and erections are not great, I wouldn't even do the 2x a week. I would do your 210 once a week, or maybe something like 170 every 5th day, and do that. New boy, frequent injections crush the acne response. I get the clear skin on 3+ injections per week. Plus, I absolutely feel better on 2. Can't touch prop anymore. Acne is in a bottle. Yeah, totally. Yeah, everybody's different regarding that, but if you figure out what works for you, Gil said you cannot take 200 a week. Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah. Anybody that says one size fits all, I don't even think we even have to classify that. I don't even think we have to designate. We all know. Everybody knows no one size fits all on TRT. There are norms that apply to people and make sense, but everybody knows that. What is my opinion on the DHT enanthate injections on top of medically prescribed TRT at a younger age for development of more male characteristics? I mean, TRT should do it for you, but, DHT is going to accelerate it. I think that would be my opinion. Yeah, that would be my opinion. It will accelerate it. DHT does, it just does. Now, if you end up on higher doses of test and you're injecting a lot at once, you're going to get a considerable amount of DHT. Not like big boluses at once, like prop will do that. If it's cypionate, you get an even keel. It like goes up and then it'll start troughing back down, but you're exposed to a lot of it over the course of a week, which matters too. You want to avoid major surges that are like this, if you can. You want a surge, but you want the curve to look more like that and then like that, not necessarily like this and then like that. But yeah, DHT and or proviron will accelerate it. Definitely. What are you taking HCG for? What does it help you with? It basically makes sure my libido stays maintained because I'm a low normal aromatizer. So if on high doses of test, I end up in a balance where if I have no HCG at all, where I've got a little bit too low estrogen for that androgen state, and the HCG balances that out. At the same time, cosmetically for me, I do not like shrunken testicles. They hurt eventually. And, load size is all right and all that, but I don't like the cosmetic nature, and I'm not planning to have kids. That time has passed for me. I live a very different life, and there's a whole lot that goes into that. But yeah, maintaining some degree of fertility, I guess, is useful. Just functionality of the testicles, and then again the neurosteroid action of functional testicles. All the stuff that it does internally is useful for me personally. I don't dose a lot of it though because I can't. I'm on too high of a test dose to dose a lot of HCG. I would have to take an AI, and I'm trying to avoid that. So far, so good. Steve Wonderful's a high aromatizer. Uses 50 milligrams of Primo Monday and Thursday to control it. Want to change the test to 200. Gotcha. 200 anathate on Mondays and 250 HCG on Fridays. I think that should be fine as long as you get that Primo dose right to manage the estradiol to put it in your range. You're probably going to have to experiment with that Primo dose and just see. I think I can't, you can never ask anyone, hey, look at this protocol. How is it? Because nobody knows how you're going to respond to it. You're going to have to do some adjustments maybe and get to the point where you have steady libido and steady erections and you feel good. That takes time for people. It's one of the reasons we do well as a company regarding coaching, because that process, if you don't know where to start and how to adjust and how long to wait and the most intelligent decisions to make, it's gonna take you a long time to dial in. Whereas if you just book a coach that has been doing this for years, you'll dial in a lot sooner. Luckier was on 120 milligrams twice weekly, just titrated up to 200 a week ago. Not sure if it's the test, but I feel like shit. I'm exhausted like before I started TRT. Could it be the titration? Well, so I don't know if you're doing 100 twice weekly now or what, because you didn't specify. You said you're on 120 weekly, twice weekly. So that's 60 twice weekly. And then, now you're taking your dose to 100 milligrams seemingly every 3.5 days. Here's an unpopular answer that might not be enough test for you, considering you're waiting 3.5 days in between injections. If that's the injection frequency, I don't know, because you're not telling me. You guys got to fill this stuff in or consider super chatting if it's long. But I know that on 100 every 3.5 days, toward the latter end of that, I start feeling pretty crappy, even though my test is actually high. It's almost like my body stops using it at a certain point. And I don't feel necessarily great. So if I'm going to be doing infrequent injections, it's got to be a lot. And I barely can make 150 every 5th day of work. I feel largely good. It's better for me doing every 4th day. And I feel like perfect all around. Feeling exhausted, so it could be that, or it could be test flu. Test flu comes when you increase your dose suddenly, your body starts freaking out. It's an immunogenic phenomenon that happens, but that could be it, but I think I would, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. If you felt fine on 60 twice weekly, then 100 really wouldn't, 100 at a time wouldn't cause you to be tired. It might just be test flu, possibly hematocrit, although that never really makes people tired in that regard. I think your body's just having a hard time adjusting to it right now. I felt like that on cycle. I got test flu for 7 days. And then it passed. Sazing, thanks for the super chat. Brother, hey man, recently got blood work on daily test prop, 15 a day, 125 IU HCG a day. Probably too much HCG. 24-hour trough levels were 550. That makes sense. Estrogen 52. Yeah, you're not over converting. You're taking too much HCG. Take that HCG once a week. Increase your prop dose to 20 milligrams a day and thank me later. That's what you should do. Because everything will come back then. You're troughing a little bit too low, first of all, to have consistent androgen stimulation, to have erections that work. And you're dosing far too fucking much HCG. You're doing that every day. That's like 900 IU a week or something. You do not need that much, period, usually. But with prop especially, because it peaks and troughs more, you get less suppression. So you need way less HCG. Do 100 IU of HCG once every 7 days. Take your prop dose to 20. Reassess after 3 weeks. Johnny Cook. What's up, brother? For someone who's trying to keep fertility and conceive children, how would I adjust doses of HCG and add-ons like FSH and clomiphene? What do I want to watch on blowover? Too cute. You asked too many questions at once here, bro. Super chat that. JL Montaigne, for people struggling with larger, longer needles, try the cough method. Just cough at the same time you plunge the needle into your glute. Virtually painless. Hey, if that works, bro. Yeah, I mean, anything that you can do to kind of just get it in and get it out kind of thing, generally, if you follow the medical establishment's guidelines, you're supposed to dart the needle in. You get it lined up and you start that thing in there. That's generally what I do. I'm putting it in the upper glute, so I'm kind of just, I'm just getting the needle aligned with the exact area in the upper left quadrant of the glute and just whoosh, darting it in there. Really quickly, and it really does not, hurt. It's a little dull muscle puncture pain, but that's about it. Yeah, exactly. Why is Dr. Keith Nichols such an a-hole? Well, okay, so first of all, I talked with Keith recently behind the scenes. So regardless of whether or not you agree with him, don't treat him poorly. He's a guy with a lot of experience, and he's a medical doctor, so you have to fucking respect that. Again, I think that he's misunderstood. He also has the contention that he wants a lot of people to recognize, which is heavily colored, in my opinion, from his own experience and not necessarily extrapolable to everybody, which is that the problem with sexual function on TRT is serotonin driven. But that guy also had PSSD from taking SSRIs. So it's colored by that experience, I have not found that to be true, but regardless, I think, he has a lot of points to make, and there are people that are on board and agree with him, and there are other people that don't. And the internet is a volatile place it's a volatile place, and there is a lot of combat going on. So that's going to make people that way. I used to be that way with certain things, and these days I'm like, I'd rather actually just get along with people. If we disagree, we disagree. That's cool. But let's just keep it as respectful as we can. I think he's actually a nice guy, and he's an exceptionally smart dude. It's just, different strokes for different folks. And, there's a contingent of the TRT population for which his advice works. And there's a contingent for which it doesn't. Again, you can't be making blanket statements. So that's just it. I think he just feels very misunderstood. And people probably treat him poorly too, which is not fucking cool. People are allowed to have different opinions. I've had Dave Lee on my podcast twice, and him and I think vastly differently. There's shit that he says that I definitely don't agree with. And I'm sure the shit that I say that he doesn't agree with either. It doesn't mean we have to be, angry with each other. Artzilla the Third. Love that, dude. If you typically inject 100 milligrams test-cypionate twice a week and wanted to switch to once-a-week injections, would you still need inject the same amount or increase it? If you're doing 100 every 3.5 days, which is what I think you're saying here, and you want to just switch to a once-a-week injection, yeah, I would just do 200 once a week. On your 3.5 day injection, probably wait about 6 days so that you give time for estrogen to trough, and then you just start running 200 milligrams a week. New Boy Fitz says, test flu is weird. I got insane anxiety and overstim, hypersensitive to caffeine when I pushed above 200. That's not test flu. No, that's just your body responding to a hyper amount of androgens that it's not used to. And it's actually having the right response right away. Usually, again, your response to test desensitizes in a lot of ways, which is why for those people, especially injecting less frequently, works. But no, that is not test flu. Test flu is you feel profoundly run down. Like, if you've taken a lot of melatonin, like way too much, and you wake up the next day and you are just groggy and tired and out of your mind, you're just like, dude, I fucking need a couple lattes to even feel like I'm going to wake up. That's what test flu feels like. And you feel sick. You actually feel sick. And you want to be in bed all day. When I had it with running the cycle in the beginning, I didn't leave my bed. Like, I had to do the things I needed to get done for the day, but then I would just jump back in bed and watch YouTube because I felt like shit, you know? In my current protocol, why did you reduce your HCG dose? I have already explained this many times to you. You asked me last week or earlier, Thursday when we did the live stream, because HCG is estrogenic and I'm taking a lot of test, which is creating a lot of estrogen. And if I'm continuing to take HCG and DHEA, both of which are estrogenic, there's going to be more estrogen burden and I'll have to take an AI, and I just don't want to. Don't want to. Tacotrenols, I've just ran out of them, but I will have more coming in. I got to order that. Some ginger. And some TTFD from Amazon probably today. Michael Fleener. 20 units test anything Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Comes out to 210 a week, and I'm on fire. Love it. Hey, again, if it works for you, it works for you. You know, it might just be the androgen load is what's benefiting you there. And, you know, so 20 units, though, that's, well, what is anything 250 per, what's that, 30 milligrams each time? Oh, you're on 10 milligrams, 210 total. If you love it, you love it, bro. It's rare, but some people can do that, you know, especially if you're not taking HCG, the estradiol is going to be like 30 or 40 or something, and that might be okay. I just see too many states in which, you know, people have tried that and their libido, they don't even have one, you know, and they can't get it up for masturbation, let alone sex. It's just a fucked up place to be. It's just because people's bodies prefer different kinetics in testosterone. You know, like some people truly do prefer a massive peak in androgens, like peaking up to 1600 and then troughing back down to like 1100. You know, some people's bodies just prefer that. And other people's bodies deal with a 30 milligram daily injection just fine. You know, but again, you know, my whole point is you can't look at like some intelligently sounding thing like daily sub-Q because it's stable and steady state. And if you do it and it doesn't work for you, you can't be like, oh, maybe I have a dopamine problem. I should start taking some, you know, fucking cabergoline. That's not going to help. Your ratios are jacked up. Your ratios are jacked up, you know, because you never get a break of estradiol. Your body prefers peaking up, troughing down, you know, in those cases. But if you're this guy, you're fine. You're fine. That's why I'll never, you know, about the whole blanket statement thing. I also will not say everybody should do infrequent injections. Not everybody should. Not everybody should, especially if your crit is going high, your fucking hemoglobin, and, you know, your blood pressure, then it's not good for you, you know? And if it's like you can dial in on daily injections at higher end doses, but you're going to need to control estrogen because it rarely works out in the right ratios. LARP Capital is one of those people who feels the same on frequent or infrequent. Now, that's wonderful. Your body's just not as sensitive to those changes. You know, some people are extremely, like I've seen people in my nootropics tenure who are so sensitive to everything. I mean, they increase their caffeine by 25 milligrams a day and they fucking are like, dude, shit, man, I'm bouncing off the walls. I couldn't sleep last night. Some people just have a more pronounced response to shit than others, and other people's bodies kind of don't freak out in one way or the other. You know, it's just kind of less responsive, if you will. Doing 350 a test, thinking of adding Masteron, mostly for the mental. Well, if you want mental benefits, Provire would probably be better. Masteron is definitely going to give you some physique benefits, and, you know, some more masculine feelings and shit like that, and probably dialing the libido and erections if 350 test is causing you to have problems in that area. So that's going to be a lot of estrogen. But hey, man, to each their own. Have at it. Good luck. Dial in that Masteron for sexual function, and you'll be good. Boys, high dose TRT mastery. Yeah, we give protocols, right? There's a ton of protocols here. The protocols that work, that I've seen work in years of coaching. But one of the other major things that we break down is the logic behind why daily injections for a large subset of the TRT population are failing them, like these guys where they're failing them. I break down why. We discuss what TRT was, how it was meant to be injected, and the necessity for some guys for this peak and trough behavior in their blood testosterone levels, to where like that's really the only way that they get the ratio of DHT to estrogen to be in the right place, unless they use an AI. And at the same time, there are people that need an androgen threshold at once and in terms of total weekly dose to get solid erections, to get really, really good ones where they don't need Cialis. Typically there's people that were hypogonadal for a while and they've been starved of DHT and all that stuff. But, high dose TRT Mastery is our most purchased product besides Sourceless. So like literally the rate it's going, there's more purchases on that than there is anything. And it, besides Sourceless in the beginning and throughout has been pretty consistent. But people just are tired. I think the thing that I get the most is people are fucking tired of injecting 20 milligrams a day and being like lukewarm and having no anabolism and, having energy and shit. They're feeling okay. But, their libidos suck and their erections are like, it's this whole deal. Like, we got to put intra-urethra fucking trimix to get ragers or run 20 of Cialis and like some Vardenafil to get ragers. Like that's fucked up, dude. You shouldn't have to do that. You should not have to do that, man. Shouldn't have to do that. Every piece of advice has worked. Well, that's great. That's great. It's rare too, because I've given advice. I've given different advice for different people. A lot of people confuse that with being like me being contradictory. Not listening to the fact that I'm saying, hey, listen, if this is you, then do this. If this is you, then do this. Never blanket statements, but I'm glad. I'm glad, bro. I'm glad. Brother, that's all I care about. All I care about is that, people get value. That's what allows us to consistently grow our YouTube channel. That's what allows our business to work, is we're doing the things that help people. If I wasn't doing that, we wouldn't even be alive. What are your views on DHA these days? Same as always. I'm not taking it as I just described 10 minutes ago because it tends to bump up serum estradiol a little bit for me, and I'm on 270 a test a week, so I can't really afford much more estradiol. So, that and HCG, the DHA is out and the HCG is very, very minimal. Would I consider adding transcrotal cream one click with the current protocol? Don't need it. Yeah, I got enough DHT. I've got enough DHT. And actually, like, that would probably throw me in the wrong balance of a little too much DHT. Again, I'm sensitive to not having enough estradiol, like, if I have a ton of DHT. So that would not be a good idea for me at this point. Now, I don't think there's anything for me to add on. The only thing I'm changing is I'm going to 250 every 7 days starting next week. Yeah. And the sole I'm dialed in and feel good right now, but the sole purpose of that is I want to see what 250 a test in one injection does for my ability to synthesize protein and put on muscle. I'm focused on that. I don't want to go on a cycle. I don't want to run Anavar right now. I just got over an injury to my levator scapulae in my neck. And so, I kind of looked like shit for a while. I still kind of look like shit, frankly. And I'd like to get my physique back to peak. So that's really the sole purpose of that. And, judging by what I've learned in coaching, it's going to make, a considerable difference. And I'm honestly just, again, like, to me, low maintenance is best. Like, do I really want to be injecting every fourth day? Not really. I'd rather just inject once a week and fucking forget about it for the rest of the week. We'll see how it goes. It might fuck with libido erections. I'm not sure. I think it will be fine. I've run 200 a week and it was fine for everything. But never 250 at once and then waiting 7 days. How do people take finasteride and still have good sexual function? I'm jealous. I've tried them and it affects my sexual function big time. Yeah, most people, it affects their sexual function. Most people. Yeah. But there's only in my opinion, there's only a real small contingent of people that do not get sexual dysfunction with it. The studies that show it's like some super minute percent, those are wrong. Those are absolutely fucking wrong. Yeah, I mean, you can't have a next to negligible side effect profile related to sexual function, but the company that makes the product gets sued for a guy that had that and killed himself because of it. I mean, get real. Are people like the proponents of it? Like, you guys are just, excuse my fucking bluntness, but you're idiots, truly. And Merck lost that lawsuit. They lost the lawsuit, man. Because, of course, it affects a lot more people than they report. And why the fuck would they want to report that it affects more people if they want to sell their drug? I mean, is this stuff not obvious to people? Yeah, most people have sexual dysfunction with it, man. Some people are very lucky and it just doesn't take their DHT low enough to cause sexual dysfunction. And perhaps they're under aromatizers as it is, so it makes them normal aromatizers, therefore. And they just end up being okay. But it's not very common. At the same time, it could also be a cumulative thing. These people running finasteride, it might take a long time, especially if they're not reducing the DHT a ton. Maybe after a year they have some serious, you don't follow these people and see where they're at. So, but yeah, apparently, allegedly, some people don't get sexual function with it. Some people don't. I've just seen too many really fucked up cases where people have had their lives ruined where they do have sexual dysfunction with taking anything that blocks DHT, including saw palmetto. 250 is a lot. I'm only taking 100 a week. Yeah, it's all relative. I wouldn't be making those statements unless you understand that it's all relative to the person. For me, 250 is not. It's a lot, but it's not too much. I have 49 hematocrit. Blood pressure of 110/70, LDL of 99, HDL of 62. A week ago, I checked all this stuff. Total test about 1,600. So my numbers are good, and it's not unhealthy for me, and it's helping me achieve the goals of anabolism without doing something profoundly unhealthy like taking loads of Anavar or something. So, it honestly is great. And like the erections are fucking out of control on it. And because I get enough of a trough and very little HCG, yeah, the estrogen is up there, but in proportion with my DHT, it's not problematic. I don't have any nipple sensitivity or any of that shit. Now, if I took that to 350, then the estrogen would go over the threshold no matter how much androgens I have. And I'd have floppy Johnson syndrome. I mean, that happened to me when I ran right about that dose, had to take an AI, and same with the cycle. On the cycle, I had to take aromacin. And that worked. It took me, about a month to dial in the dose of that, but then rocking erections, pretty good libido on 500 test. But now I'm right on that borderline. If I went up to 300, 350, even with minimal HCG, I would need estrogen control. Maybe just some zinc, but I would take aromacin. 6.25 once every 5-7 days, something like that, and that would solve that problem. But right now, I'm right on the borderline. Right on the borderline. Johnny Cook, for someone who is trying to preserve and fertility and conceive, how would I adjust dose of HCG, add-ons like FSH and clomiphene, and what do I want to watch on blood work? Adjust from where? How would you adjust doses of HCG, add-ons like FSH? I think you're being too general here. I'll try to answer your question, man. First of all, and clomiphene with HCG is redundant. You don't need to do that. HCG will make your testes functional, and you'll produce testosterone and stay fertile. FSH will help the Sertoli cells specifically to make semen and aid in fertility. So leaving clomiphene out of it is what I would do. Oh, you're on 200 milligrams a week of sipping. Okay, so if you're injecting that all at once, what I would do is I would dose 150 IU of HCG once a week. I would dose that on injection day of test and do nothing else. And then you should go and actually test your sperm motility and your fertility markers, like with a qualified medical professional or organization, so that you can actually see where things are going. But you would be surprised, first of all, how little HCG it requires for you to stay fertile and get a woman pregnant. And secondly, you'd be surprised at how many people do get their girlfriends or wives pregnant on very little HCG. Yeah, I've seen it. So that's what I would do if I were you, man. Pushing 200 milligrams of test a week, the more HCG you take, the more you're going to have to control estrogen. So if you want to run 250 every other day of HCG, well, you're certainly going to be better equipped to be fertile in that case, but you're almost definitely going to have to take an AI. Otherwise, sexual dysfunction and an imbalanced ratio of DHT to estradiol. That's how I'd approach that. Figure out what the minimal dose of HCG that you can take is, where you have functional testicles. They don't look shrunken and shriveled. That's an indicator right there that you're probably nice and fertile. But go run with a qualified medical professional. Go run those labs to see how fertile you are on that. And then increase the dose if you have to, and consider taking an AI, or reducing the test dose if you need to increase the HCG dose. I mean, if your fertility is your major thing, you can low dose test, high dose HCG, and dial in that way. I've done it. I've done it on 100 milligrams a week. I've done it on 5 clicks of 100 milligram cream a day on the scrotum, and 330 IU of HCG a day. Dude, it's like 2,500 IU of HCG a week. Those are fertility doses. So you can do that. It's have to probably lower the test. Otherwise, once a week on the HCG, lower doses, monitor your markers and see where you are regarding fertility. That would be the way that I would scientifically approach it, or intelligently approach it if it was me. Any experience with NPP? No. Not something I want to take. It's the kind of thing that, because it causes sexual dysfunction in some people, I would never touch it. And we don't really know if that's via dihydronandrolone blocking DHT's binding at androgen receptors, or if it's increasing prolactin gene expression, both of which it does. Either way, deck addicted. It's one of those things that can happen. So it's not something I'm interested in doing at all. Not something I'm interested in doing, brother. Any other questions, guys? What the hell are you guys doing today? Like, for the 4th, me and Jill are going to go downtown to Pittsburgh to the Point and watch their 250 show. Their America's 250 years old show, or whatever it is. And it's supposed to be the best fireworks display they put on. Now, each year, if it's at the Point, they put on an amazing show, because they have these barges that are in the river, and they've set off fireworks from there, and they're fucking awesome. I mean, it's one of the best shows. Plus, you're sitting with a lot of the city, all in a crowd, and then you're looking at the river. So it's just a cool ambiance as it is. And then you get to watch a spectacular fucking fireworks show. So that's what we're doing later, and I can't wait. We're going to have to park on the south side, for those of you familiar with Pittsburgh, and then walk across the Smithfield to the north side, and then buck a left and walk to the Point. Probably take us about 30 minutes just to walk there, but that's cool. Then we're going to claim our spot on the steps of the Point, and then hang tight until the fucking fireworks come. You're not allowed to bring alcohol in. You're not allowed to bring chairs in. But we will sneak Casamigos on a water bottle. Didn't say that. Didn't hear it from me. Because someone dial in only on HCG. Pretty rare, but people do it. I mean, HCG monotherapy is a thing. It's more estrogenic per the testosterone you take. I mean, that's just it. It usually causes an imbalanced ratio in DHT to estrogen, because it's too estrogenic versus how much androgenic it is, essentially. Yeah, but it can be done, and people do it, but it's harder. It's harder to dial in than a test. Test you can dial test in HCG a lot easier than just HCG. You kind of need more androgenic input with just HCG than just HCG alone. It's not that substantial. It's not that substantial. In other words, it ain't good enough, brother. It's not good enough. It isn't good enough, brother. It's not. It's just not good enough. Hey, brother, it's not good enough. Guys, I wanted to show you that, I've been into personal development for years. It's actually what got me into entrepreneurship is personal development. But I haven't talked about it publicly. I've talked about it all publicly on my, Facebook profile and shit like that. I've always been a proponent of personal development. It's how I've gotten where I've gotten in life. But, my personal channel, just Ryan Michael Ballo, I just started posting again. I just started posting, personal development stuff. And it's this shit. Like, look at this shit. It's fucking awesome. It's fucking awesome. I think a lot of you guys get a lot of value from it. So go sub to that channel. It's basically, I've just started posting content again on it. And I'm going to be posting like I do on this channel, like a madman. So it's coming. It's coming. I'll have a few thousand subscribers in probably a month or two. And then I think we're going to blow up. Honestly think we're going to fucking blow up. People need this, People need this. My style is probably a mixture between Goggins, a little bit of Tate, a little bit of the thinking that went into the Think and Grow Rich series, or all of Napoleon Hill's books. What I have seen, and then my own unique stuff, like the stuff that I've seen in life. I'm like, I am like this video. I am a huge proponent of not trying to be antithetical to people, but recognizing that success as a man in this world usually comes being behaving pretty divergently from the crowd. Nothing that I do is normal in my life. I am unlike, quote, normal people. It's hard for me to relate to people because of that. But again, somebody that's hard charging wants to make $1 million plus liquid and then continue building from there, or more, or just be a few $100,000 you're going to have to fucking think way differently, trust me, than everybody else. So a lot of that kind of shit in there. And, it's just kind of me chilling in the office, talking shit, brother, talking shit. I think you guys will like it. Go sub Ryan Michael Ballo. Ryan Michael Ballo. Where are we here? 53 minutes. Let's look at the stream. Brothers, if you got questions, ask them, or I'm going to kill this stream, dude. I got a lawn to mow. And then I've got AKL. It's just Ryan Michael Ballo on YouTube. It's also in the description of this video. Should be anyway. I've got some yard work to do. I've got some preparation, i.e. putting some Casamigos in a water bottle so we can disguise it as water when we go through security today. We're not going to be getting loaded, but we are going to probably, like, right as the fireworks are about to come on, me and Jill are going to toast a shot of Casamigos, and I'm kind of pumped. Any peptides or nootropic supplements that may increased sympathetic activity from high androgen levels. Yeah, probably L-theanine would be the best answer there. Yeah, L-theanine would be your answer. Yeah, and that shouldn't cause any significant side effects or anything wacky. It's going to increase GABA concentrations and increase the release of dopamine a little bit, but it's largely a GABAergic, compound. Yeah, but I mean, again, it's just time. Time usually solves that problem. Again, I had started TRT at 210 a week. I was doing daily sub-Q injections, and I couldn't fucking sleep, dude. Then I went down and dosed, and each time I had gone up and dosed, like, I couldn't sleep. But I only gave that about a week or two, not even 2. I was like, I can't fucking handle this. Went back down. But over time, as I, tried pushing higher doses and sticking with it, all that went away. All that went away, my brother. I don't know why it's cutting off the questions now. Why is that happening? Why would that happen? Width should be maybe 900. Yeah. Maybe a little higher. 1200. 1222. That works. It worked. Happy 4th, everyone. Happy 4th, brother. Don't know what you're up to, but I hope you have fucking fun. Everybody stay safe. Don't drink a lot. Don't drink. Again, we're bringing tequila to the show, but we're going to literally drink like a shot or two. And we will not be drinking up to it because we've got to park, 30 minutes away, walking distance from where we're going to watch the fireworks, and we got to walk our ass over there. And doing that fucking drinking is shitty. You got to piss, and it's fucking such a dumb idea. So we won't even really be drinking. But when the fireworks start, shot at Casamigos. For the 250. Happy 4th. Ending the stream. Kick ass. See you this week. Content all week. Shorts all week. Digital products, 20% off. Code's in the description. Coaching, 50% off. Code is in the description. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on. Enjoy your 4th. Stay safe. Don't drink a lot. All right. Make smart decisions. You want to wake up tomorrow feeling fucking great. Also saying that you had a great time. I'll talk to you guys really soon. Peace.